guys, last time we talked about background image and we were able to implement different images. So we'll be doing a lot of things today. Please, I just want to bear with me. I'm gonna have a kind of longer video because I want us to cover a lot. So you could pause and watch later, and probably you could just watch at a stretch, but it's gonna be very interesting. So let's talk about borders. Borders. How does border works? Should I keep our background image? Okay, let me just keep our background image, or probably let me change it to a background color so that to be a bit background color. So let's use white. That will be FFF. So if we come in here, I refresh, background color will be white. So let's make it white so to be a bit easier for us to do, to see things that are going on. Let me remove some of this paragraph text. Let me still remove more. Okay, let me still get rid of some. I won't be needing too much text. Okay, so this is good. So let me refresh now. Okay, we don't have that much. Let me still remove. I want it to just show on a page, on a single page. So if I come in here now and refresh, I think we are good to go now. Okay, so let's look at borders. Now, sometimes we work in our web page. We want borders here and there. So how do we go about bringing in border? Borders could be done in different. Border has different attributes. We have a lot of properties when it comes to borders and the attributes. So we have the dotted, we have dash. Okay, let me start by saying, okay, for instance, in our CSS on this p tag, we said, okay, we want a border. Just a border style. Oh, sorry, border style. Now we have dashed, we have dotted, we have double, we have groove, we have hidden, we have ridge, we have a lot of them like that. So let's start with dashed. If I save this and I come in here, can you see this is an example of a dash border? So you might want to use this in your web page. Don't worry, everything we learn, we're gonna build a simple web page, bring everything together in order to see how far we've come. So we could also apply others. Let me apply another one. Let me apply the thick. There is a version called thick. Okay, I think thick is normal. Sorry, I'm old school. That's okay. Dotted. Let's check how dotted looks like. Okay, I think we just like dash, but just a bit tinier than dash. So we could also come and say, okay, we want a border width. Border width. So if I come here and say border width, I can say, okay, 10 pixels. If I go to my browser and I refresh, you see we're having a massive width. That's the way it is. So if I say I want a thin border, and I come and I refresh, oh sorry, let me have a thin border. Okay, I think some of the styles, okay, solid, sorry. So if I come and I refresh, I have something like this. So we have a lot of border styles, like I've showed you earlier on. We have a lot, so we can deal with border width. Now we can also do with color. When it comes to border, we can say, okay, border, we can say border color. When we say border color, just like we've been choosing our color, we can come here and say, okay, 36350. I think that should be a green. Okay, so if we come here and I refresh, you see we have a green border color. Sorry, don't get confused here. It could be, it's still something as saying 3355 and 00 is still the same color. I'm just using, you can use either 3 or 6 I don't want to use the word number, figures or something. So that's the way it works. So now we have deal with border color. We have we have a lot of properties that we could do. We could do with sides. Like, okay, this particular side, maybe the right hand side, the left hand side. Okay, I can say I want border left color to be. Okay, let me just use one of this color, blue. So if I save this, if I go to I refresh, you can see my border left color is blue. So we could choose different kind of colors for different sides of the border. So I could go and say, okay, I want border right width. I want it to be around 3 pixels. If I go there, if I go back and I refresh, okay, I think it's working, but it's not that showing. Probably because I've given a border width generally. Let me take this off and let me go back and refresh. Okay, so we can see it's why it's not affecting everything. I don't know. Okay, so we could just take care of every sides. And okay, let me say, okay, let me just come here and say border right style. Border right style, I want the border right style to be dotted. If I refresh this, I should get that. So we could see those are different things we could get in borders. And we could also do, there's something we call the border radius. We could say, okay, border radius, we want 5 pixels. If I should save this, if I should come to here and refresh, you could see I have corner edges on my borders. That's what we call the border radius. This could apply to anything as far as probably a box. It could be a box, it could be a border. Once it's in the form of a rectangle or a square, once it has 1, 2, 3, 4 shapes, you can always deal with the border radius. Okay, so that's just all about borders. So let's come to what we call margins in CSS margins. Several times, look at this page now. We don't have our text looks so, how will I put it? Everything is inside the border, and there's no space in between left, right. Our text starts from the edge of the screen. So we could deal with this by using the margin property. So how do we go about this? Let's still use our p tag. Just come here, we can say, okay, margin. You can just give a general margin, but let me take care of different. We have margin top. Let's say margin top 10 pixels. If we come margin top 10 pixels and I refresh, you'll see we have margins here. Let me make use of something else so that it will be extremely clear. Let me just remove all this border. So let's come to, let's say margin top, let's say 80 pixels. So it's going to be so obvious. Now you can see from here to here is 80 pixels. From here to here is 80 pixels. From here to here, so they all have 80 pixels margin upward. So it could be the other way around. It could be margin left, margin right, margin bottom, or whatever, or anyone you want to use. So now let's go into another set of tags. I was trying to explain. I told you I will talk about the class and IDs. So for instance, I believe you remember our div tag. If I use a div tag, and this is a div tag, I say, okay, div, and inside my div, I have a paragraph that says, hello, this is a div tag trying to learn web development and become the best in it. So this is a div tag, and I also let me copy and paste this div tag. I have another one here that has an h1. I believe, remember the h1 tag. So I have another one here that have the which other tag, should I use? Which other tag? Let me use h3 tag. So if I go to my page here and you can say I have 3 different tags. This is because we have p there. So now I can give this a class, like an identifier, like a name. Like I can say, okay, this is first text. I can say this class is equals to second text, and I can say this class is equals to third text. Now these are classes. That means this div, the name of this div is first text, the name of this is second text, the name of this is third text. Now, how do I style this particular class in my CSS? I don't want all my, I want to style them separately. So how do I style this? Now you go to your style sheet. If we're having, what's it called, a class, you precede the name of that class with a dot. I'll say first text. So first text. So you have to proceed with a dot. So saying first text, I believe you understand what I'm trying to do. Because we named the div, because the div is being named class. We have a class and we have a name for it. That's why we're using a dot. So if I should come here now and say for that particular div, I say, okay, the color of that div, I want it to be red. Color means text color. Let me not use red because we've been using red and it's still red. Let me just say I want the color to be blue. If I save this and I go back here and I refresh, you will notice that only this is blue because this is the only one named first test rather. So let's try the other divs. This second one is named dot second text. So let's say for this one, we want color to be let's use our color. Let me just use 03. Let me use 21. Okay, I think this should be good. Let's give it a font size of like 80 pixels. In font, we have another thing we call font weight. So I'll be introducing to everything as we move on. You can give it any number, or you can just make it bold. And we can also have what we call font family. Now, font family is the name of font, like your monotype. You remember in your Microsoft Word, your monotype cursiva, your Times New Roman. So here let's just say we use Frank Gothic. So these are the fonts. So if I come in here now and I refresh this, can you see this is bigger and it's different from this? So we're able to style each section of our page separately because we give them a class. And what's a class? That's a name. We give the divs names. So this div has so name, and that div has so name, so and that div has another name. So let me reduce the font. It's kind of too big and making it look a bit like, what is this? So let me just change to like 20. So if I change to 20 and I save this, if I come in here and I refresh, yeah. So we'll be doing more of this. We'll be using more of divs now just to make our styling look a bit much more better, because we want to understand what it takes to style separate parts of our codes. Now, we also have what we call the ID. The ID is the same thing. It's just a name too, just like we have div. The only difference between ID and div is the way we reference them in our CSS is different. So let me name this to ID and let this one be a class. So if I come in here, all I need to do, for if it's an ID, you proceed with an hash sign. That's what makes them to understand, okay, this is an ID. Let me copy this and paste here, and let me put third text here. Now if I save this, don't worry, I understand I'm putting an hash sign there. If I save this and I refresh, you see that this two did not change, but this is not working because I've changed this to ID, but this one still remain a class, and I'm using an hash to precede a class. It doesn't work. A class must start with a dot, while an ID must start with an hash sign. So if I should come in here now and refresh, you could see it's applicable to this too now. Okay, so I believe we are getting to know these things, and I believe very soon we'll start writing our own codes. So finally, before I go, remember I talked about margin. So let me talk about the padding. Padding also is like margin, but the difference between padding and margin is this. When you say when you use margin, it gives a space in between. For example, margin top, you get a space in between here and the element. But if you use padding, it gives a space inside the element. Okay, let me just make it easy. For this particular text, let's come in here, let's put a border. Let's say border style is equals to let's use dashed. So if I come in here and I refresh, you see we have a border style is equals to dash. Now let's come in here and say, okay, padding left, let's say 20 pixels. If I should refresh, can you see it's inside? Inside, a space is given inside. But if I change this padding to margin, and I refresh, it shifts the whole item. So I believe we understand the difference between padding and margin now. So they have the same attribute, left, top, right, and likes like that. So they have the same thing. Okay, so let's move on. Now I promise I said the class is not be long, but I'll be done in few seconds. I just want to touch one more thing. Then from there, we'll move on to something entirely different. So in CSS, sometimes we want to access the tags itself. Like I've said, you could just come in and put a P accessing the tag. Now sometimes we might have a P that has, okay, let me come in here. Let me write a div. Now the name of this div is let me use a class and say new. I want this paragraph inside. So I want this paragraph and the paragraph. Okay. And I want let me say h1. Now, you know, if I style this particular, let's say I style, let me copy the style, bring it here. I style the dot new. If I go to my browser and I refresh, everything inside new is what? Blue. But I actually want to style the h1 only. I don't want to deal with the paragraph. I want the paragraph to remain the default color. So how do I go about that? Somebody will be like, I should go and do h1. It will affect all the h1. I can just say new, then h1. If I come in here and I refresh, you see it affects just this. That is, I'm telling you that check for anywhere that has a class of new, and check under that new, check for a tag called h1. If it's a class 2, I'll just put a dot before h1. I hope you get this. I hope you understand. Okay. Sorry, it's a bit long than usual. Thank you very much. Let me stop here. So probably in our next class, we'll be doing a little exercise and doing a little styling so that we could understand, we could use everything we've been learning so far together. Thank you very much.